I want to circle back to this one interview that you had given with Zebpay in 2018, in which you mentioned that the time that you were recording this video, that interview, Bitcoin was the favorite. And then a couple of years back, you mentioned Ethereum, Ether was favorite, which is, I think, circles back to the point that when people make a decision based on certain thing, there is a thesis behind what the person is saying, which I think is very, very important to understand. Do not take it at blanket statement that because Bitcoin has got a rally, I might enjoy as well, because the volatility is something that is extremely unnerving for most. I think for probably every single individual, people like stability of sorts. While I will come to NFT, I want to talk about the piece of volatility, which I think is particularly very difficult to navigate, and that will circle back to the stock market as well, but more so with cryptocurrency. How do Ajit, as an individual, view risk when it comes to assessing either your portfolio or just probably whether it's an opportunity worth going after or not, particularly in this context of investing?
So when it comes to taking a view on something, like you gave the Bitcoin Ethereum example, and I always like to take a step back. I will of course answer your question directly. uh, Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to a new restaurant where you have not been before, but it seems like worthwhile trying, and you're presented with a menu and you're poring over it and trying to understand what these words mean, especially when menus use very fancy foreign sounding names of dishes which mean nothing to you, and then you go ahead and make a choice and something comes to your table, be honest. Hasn't it often been the case that you look over your shoulder to the next table and it seems like what they got was much better than what you got, right? As in, this is so true that I have now started going to a new restaurant and just looking at what others are saying and saying, get me that, right? Because it is
Mm.
probably a little better than, just looking at a menu which I don't understand. So the fact that you may make all your educated decisions in ordering or choosing cryptocurrency or investment option or life partner or relationship or best utilization of your time, there's a good chance that you'll turn out later to find that it was not the right thing. Now, as far as risk is concerned, cryptocurrency has three clear risks. There's a regulatory risk, there's a hacking risk, and there's a obsolescence risk. What you are referring to, however, is the volatility risk. So to begin with, other than the first three risks, I often tell people that I don't regard volatility as a risk, which is actually a very as in scary thing to say, because statistically risk is defined by volatility, variation, standard deviation, etc. And in general also, the fact that you can buy at a high price and it falls down and you lost money, surely there must be risk. Okay, I'm not going to debate the technicality of it, but the fact still is that volatility is a very important characteristic of most of the things. Like for example, would you really want to invest in stable coin, which means a coin whose value is always exactly $1? No, you may hold it as you hold currency which you want to spend and transact with. But the fact is that you want volatility, except that you want volatility in your favor. Namely, you want to buy it today and you want volatility to kick in so that you become rich, very rich tomorrow. The
True.
pain that you encounter with volatility is that it often does exactly the opposite. You buy and then it crashes and you're like, oh my god, I hate this volatility. You don't hate the volatility, you hate the fact that it did not work for you. Otherwise you would love the volatility, right? As in, if you bought something for 10, it became 20 tomorrow, you would not say I hate volatility. You'd say, hey, you know what, I'm glad there was volatility. So there are two approaches to this. One is that you come up by looking at charts, come up with hearing videos, experts, gurus, and say, this is the right time to buy or sell. I personally have no belief in that approach. I think it is a superstitious approach, though you may be using graphical methods, technical analysis, charts, or whatever, right? The other approach is the one I take, and I say, listen, if on the whole I like the asset, so for example, I like a certain cryptocurrency, and ladies and gentlemen, you will see that I'm completely desisting from even using examples of cryptocurrencies, because I don't want you to leave here thinking that Ajit said buy that. I did not say that. In fact, there are, like, that's the only question that if there were a Q&A at the end of this, of course this is an entire Q&A itself, but the only question I don't answer is that, hey, what should I buy to become rich like really fast? But coming back to what I was saying, that suppose I have a thesis that I like this particular token for whatever reason, but I just don't know if this is the right time to buy. The price currently is 100, but it was also 20 10 months back. It was also 200 some time ago. So should is 100 so much higher than 20 that I should wait for it to fall, or is 100 so much better than 200 that I'm like, hey, I'm getting a bargain? What if I buy at 100 and it becomes 90 the next day? So these are questions that I don't know how to answer, but I have to answer because I have to transact. Otherwise, I'm just a bystander. Fence sitting is the worst thing. Either you play or you go home. Sitting on the fence, worst idea. So there is the concept of averaging. Now, please understand that those who know that the average of 4 and 6 is 5 might think that I'm talking about such a trivial idea. Not at all. This is a very sophisticated idea compared to just an arithmetic mean. The arithmetic mean of 4 and 6 is indeed 5. But why do mutual funds keep shouting about SIP, SIP, SIP? That the idea is, I'll tell you two types of averagings, and I'm going to try to keep it very, very non quantitative because a lot of people don't like numbers. Suppose you go and buy 1 unit of this cryptocurrency every day. So one day it is 100, one day it's 90, one day it's 110, etc. And you say, okay, got the average price. Bad idea, very bad idea. This averaging is stupid. I'll tell you what is the correct averaging. You find a particular amount of rupees, not number of tokens, but a certain amount of rupees, such as 100 rupees. And you go every day or every week or every month or whatever is your budget and buy that same amount of rupees worth of this token, regardless of what the price is. You know what this will do? On those days when the token price is low, let us say it's 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or whatever, you will get more number of units. On those days when the token price is high, 150, 200, 300, whatever, you'll get fewer number of units. As a result, your average acquisition price will not be the average price of all your purchase points. It will be much better than that. Much,
True.
much better than that. This concept is called dollar cost averaging, rupee cost averaging, SIP, variety of names. But this is the only way to do it, that is enter slowly at different price points by investing the identical amounts of money into an asset you would want to invest in. Volatility should affect you much less if you do this.